Today is February the 5th, 2024. This is Addison Shonland, and my guest today is Daniel Weniger, who is SVP A220 Program, Airbus Canada. Daniel, very nice to meet you.
Good morning. Very nice to meet you, Addison. How are you today? It's a pleasure to
Uh,
be here.
Thank you, thank you. I'm doing pretty good, and I'm very excited because I've got time with you to talk about the 220 program. Um, Obviously, a program that gets a lot of attention, more and more attention these days. And so maybe we could start off. Could you give us an idea of or some sort of an update on the program status?
Well, I'm happy that this program, which it's caught your attention because it is a great program. It is a program which is um, we are on track getting to a rate 14 in 2026. The year 2023 was a fantastic year. We had 142 new orders from new customers and existing customers, and we have delivered 68 airplanes in 2023, which is coming from 53 in 22, which is almost a 30% increase overall. So the program is doing great, but as every program, it has got its challenges, which is our role to navigate through and make them successful.
Mm-hmm. So clearly, the production rate is an issue. The segment that you're in is, how shall I put this? Almost new, meaning there were the 319 and the 737-700 were sort of in that space up down to, let's say, 130 seats, maybe 140 seats. But really from 100 seats and up to 145, this has not been an easy segment to trade in. And yet your competitor and yourselves are doing pretty good. How big is the backlog at this stage?
Well, we have 900 planes sold so far, and we have delivered 314. So it's about 600 aircraft in backlog, removing those which we have already delivered. And I have to say, it's a plane which is, and I'm not going to talk about too much about Boeing, but I'm looking into our own portfolio, which is very much well complementing the 319 for several reasons, either because of very specific specifications on certain airports, but also on airlines which some of them will have an A320 family and pilots and mechanics commonality, maintenance commonalities, and some other will have the A220 -300 or -100 and bring that as a commonality. So they're very much complementary, and honestly, the customers are giving us a great feedback. The competition with the 319 is not being mentioned as a hurdle to overcome.
Right. Well, I think that one of the things that people like people like me are looking at and seeing that the 319 Neo, for example, is a niche airplane. The 220-300 is no longer a niche airplane. And of course, when we look at the ACJ versions, the 220 is doing pretty well as an ACJ as well. So I think that that's all very good news for the program.
Yeah, let's talk about the ACJ. I mean, the ACJ, we have now already one aircraft which is flying with a customer. Some others are in outfitting, and we are in, let's say, on the verge of certifying what we call the additional center tanks. That means the range extension, which brings this platform, this aircraft, the ACJ, to a 5,650 nautical miles, which is going to be, with that cabin, a tremendous machine for that segment, for the corporate jet segment. And right. We are, with our partners and customer, very closely working to make that certification of ACTs and enhance the platform much more.
Okay. So the success of the program, I guess, validates the original concept of the C series, and it appears the 220 program demonstrates market demand in the 100 to 145 seat segment. What about what global market patterns are you seeing in that segment?
Well, first of all, the most important market pattern is it's this new generation aircraft have now driven safety down to numbers which are exceptional. I mean, last year was another year with the lowest safety incidents in the market in the industry, and that's a key pattern which obviously Airbus with the A220 and the other platforms are driving. So it's very important to us. We do see, of course, the ramp up as a pattern. We are ramping up this program like we're ramping up all the Airbus platforms because the market demand is there. Post-COVID, the market demand is there, and we're doing our job to deliver and ramp up. I don't want to say as fast as possible, in line with what the program needs. We can't run too fast and drip over. Make sure that we are building this program on very sustainable foundations, bringing all the not compromising on quality and no safety, bringing the sustainability elements into it to make sure we keep building on to what we have committed to our customers.
Okay. If one looks at the program, how has the 220 program evolved since Airbus took over? I remember at one of the first things that came out of the program switch from OEM to the new OEM was the extra range. But what else has happened in the market that since Airbus has taken over?
Okay, Alison, we have celebrated in July last year the 5th anniversary of the partnership. That means when Airbus took over. So since then, we have with Airbus we've more than doubled the order book. That was one of the, let's say, the key enabler of using the sales power of Airbus and make sure we don't compete against other Airbus programs, but find the right complementary market access with the A220 platform, the 319 platform, the 320 platform. So we've increased the number of deliveries. Since Airbus we delivered 275 planes. As I said, we had doubled the order book. We multiplied by nearly 7 the number of operators. We made the ACJ and we made a set of enhancement to the platform. The most visible one is going to be the XL bins implementations, where we are adding the airspace language of the XL bins, bringing that additional hand luggage or space in the cabin to carry hand luggage. That's something which is very much appreciated by our customers, very well responded in the cabin show last year's. And of course, adding capability with maximum takeoff weight, adding the range to the platform in the, let's say, the normal commercial plane, but as well on the ACJ, as mentioned earlier.
Right. So it's a more capable airplane now, right?
It is a more capable airplane than it was in the beginning. But that's normal. That's what an airplane is. It keeps evolving. It keeps bringing, pushing ahead the performance. And the more we mature the plane, the more we ramp up the plane, the more we get feedback from in service as well. And that more we are able to address what needs to be addressed for customers, but also enhance the platform with capability like takeoff weight increases, like XL in cabin features, cabin catalog enhancement, and others.
So Airbus, at the start of the 220 program going into the Airbus fold, there was a focus on supply chain and the supply chain costs. Can you give us a sense of how that's going?
Supply chain is, looking in the value of split of the work share between the make and the buy, as we call it. The A220 has a large supply chain. The fuselage sections are all bought from our partners in China or in Belfast. I say the supply chain is the complex supply chain in this complex environment is the challenge to address by a company like us. But you know what? So that's exactly our job. Our job is to anticipate, to monitor the supply chain, anticipate what can go wrong, help the suppliers. And we have watchtowers which are looking at financial health of suppliers. We have rate assessments, and we do so-called joint improvement plans where we say, okay, well, how can we help a supplier to get to that rate increase, which we know in a complex environment like I have today, where raw materials sometimes are critical. It is a win-win. We can't just stand in our, behind our fence and say, wait, launch a purchase order and wait until the parts arrive. We are very much with our suppliers, help them being demanding, help them when it's needed, and go as much as possible in anticipation. When you have a production line ramping up, you can't stop it. You need to be ahead of any hurdle which might come from the supply.
Right. Yeah, I think that the experience when one looks at not just at Airbus or not just at the 220 program, but across the industry, long supply chains are just the way things are now, and they require intense monitoring. It's just the way it is. What would you say the areas primary focus on now? Is it the GTF or other parts of the program that keep you awake at night?
Awake at night is a strong statement. I wouldn't say that. No,
it's a question.
But the areas of focus, Edison, yeah, the areas of focus is clearly aerostructures, because of the dynamics and the raw materials with steel, titanium. That is something where with geopolitical complexity which is coming in. That's something which we're very close. And obviously the GTF. That's something where with Pratt & Whitney we are in very, very close collaboration.
Right.
Looking on what to do on mitigating early warnings of supply chain shortages, creating some I want to call it buffers, so that we are protecting the final assembly line against shortfalls, and that proves us being successful, because whenever there's a shortfall, it gives us a bit of time to react and to solve the topics before it actually hits the line. But yeah, aerostructure, engine, that is the areas of, I would say, keeping me on my toes. I don't want to say keeping me awake at night, but keeping me on my toes.
Well, the good news, at least on the Pratt thing, is that it seems like RTX has got their handle on it, and that they were very conservative in their forecast of the repair process. They seem to have gotten their hands on it, got a handle on it. So that seems to be good. Now, of course, that comes the interesting stuff that I want to talk about, is looking forward. So what more can Airbus squeeze out of the 220 program in terms of performance, do you think?
That's a very, very good question. I mean, as it evolves, we will always, like we've done in all our programs, look at improving the performance. And there are the classical ways. It's aerodynamics improvements, touching the engine. All of that obviously comes at a cost and has to come with a return on that investment.
Sure.
Here we are obviously looking at every potential continuously. We have a process for that to monitor and see what does the market, and that's the most important question before investing in bringing something more, is what does the market need? What's the gap to fill in the market? And that actually will drive decisions for aerodynamic or engine or also flight operations performance improvement. So that's never a yes and no answer. It is a continuous process, which is driven by the market need and by the return of investment, of course.
Fortunately, the program has within Airbus a very good path to follow, right? Because you've done this time and again with every program.
That is right. We do capitalize on the broader Airbus capability, using what we have in Airbus Canada, but also merging that with the experience what we have on the other programs to get the best out of it.
You mentioned earlier on long-range tanks with the ACJ. Now, Breeze Airways some years ago mentioned interest in long-range tanks for their 220s. What about other operators looking at, I guess Breeze was talking about transatlantic capabilities, but what about other operators around the world, non-ACJ? What interest do you see in taking this airplane's range a lot further?
Well, Edison, I can't comment on Breeze fleet strategy, of course.
Right. That I understand.
The focus of the ACJs, of the ACTs, is to certify that for the ACJs. And for that, also taking into consideration the market request, which has been very low for the commercial part, we want to focus on that. We want to focus on ramping up. We want to focus on bringing the program profitability before adding too much complexity on our operations, on the way we drive this program.
Okay. Two more items I want to ask you about. The first would be the 220-300 is obviously these days the most in-demand model, but the 100 has some very interesting capabilities for its size. I remember there was interest at one stage flying that airplane from London City to New York, the 100, because it has this, the wing of the 300, and it has this great range capability. But there's another thing that intrigues me. Is there any interest in using the airframe, the 220-100, for maritime patrol? Because that seems to me like, a small P8. That seems to me a market that maritime patrol is increasingly important for a lot of places in the world. And it seems to me the 220-100 would be quite a good airframe for that role.
Alison, you're describing very much potential of the platform. I'm happy to hear that it has potential, that platform, in what you said, and probably some other applications. Our focus, we have to focus for, I would say, for the next 24 months, we have to focus on what we have on our plate. Why? Because we've made commitments to customers. We have a ramp up to do, which is with all what we just talked, the supply chain challenges, our own challenges. We have to bring it up, and it's our job to do that, and we are in a good trend for that. It's not the right time to add all that complexity. We will running in a risk that we're trying to do too much at the same time, right, and fail on some areas. So bear with me some 24 months until we start having a discussion about what else we can do on this platform. Once we have stabilized it, once we have ramped up, we're delivering 14 aircraft a month, then we will have a good foundation to further build on.
Okay, so my last item that I was going to say, or that I want to talk to you, is, are there any other items that you can share with us about what we could expect from the program?
It's already great, isn't it? No, I think I said it. No, my team, the leadership team, the Airbus team is we want to focus. We want to reduce complexity for the moment. It is a program which is very successful on the market. We want to deliver as per our commitments to our customer, drive the competitiveness, means the cost down, ramping up obviously drives the cost down. And then once we have reached the ramp up, the rate 14 in 2026, that's the time to think about whether it's a platform to bring. But we wouldn't go do that first without having a robust foundation. It would be not responsible towards our customers.
Daniel, thank you so much for spending time with me.
Addison, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.